So far, most of this course's example files have contained subroutines or functions that run all of their code every time you call them. There will be times, though, when you want parts of your subroutines to run when a condition is true or false. In business, the canonical example is calculating sales commissions. Many companies have separate commission rates for different sales totals, so I will use that example as a context for how you can use if-then statements to execute code conditionally. For this movie, we will use the if-then code module, and that's here at the bottom of the navigation pane, so I'll double-click it to open it. In this code module, I have a single subroutine, and in it I've defined two variables, total and commission, and then I get the total value from an input box asking for the amount of the sale. At the end of the subroutine, there's a message box that will display the value of the commission. The simplest form of an if-then statement is a one-line if-then. So for that, I'll click above the message box statement and create an if-then statement that checks to see if the value is greater than or equal to 1,000. So I'll type if CURTOTAL, which again is the amount of the sale, is greater than or equal to 1,000. Then CURCOM, the commission, equals current total, CURTOTAL, times 0.03, and press the down arrow. So in other words, if the total is greater than or equal to 1,000, you get a 3% commission, and that will appear in the message box. So I'll press F5 and run the code once to show what happens when the condition is true, and again to show what happens when the condition is false. So I'll press F5, and the amount of the sale, let's make it 2,000, which is above 1,000. Click OK, and the commission is $60. Now if I press F5 to run the code again and enter the amount of the sale, we'll make it 100, which is well below 1,000. Click OK, and Access displays a box that shows the commission is 0. So that is the simplest way to create an if-then statement. If you want to create an if-then statement that makes multiple tests, then you can use the else keyword. So for that, let's say that the total is greater than or equal to 1,000, then, and I'll press enter, and then press tab to move the code over, and I pressed enter twice to give myself a blank line. If the total is greater than or equal to 1,000, then we'll make the commission 6%, press enter, then type else, E-L-S-E, then return, and tab again to move in. If it's below 1,000, we'll make the commission 5%. So that would be CURCOM equals the total, CURTOTAL, times 0.05. And then press enter twice, backspace twice to move back to the left margin, and then close out the if statement by typing end if, E-N-D, then a space, I-F. This code checks to see if the sale was at least $1,000. If it is, you get a 6% commission. If not, you get 5%. So I'll press F5 to run the code, and I'm asked to enter the amount of the sale. I'll make it 1,000. So I should see a commission of 60. I do. I'll click OK. Now if I press F5 to run it again and type in 100, I should see a 5% commission or $5. And when I click OK, that is indeed what appears. You should be sure to put your else statement on its own line, and also to make sure that the first then statement is on its own line as well. If you don't, Access treats those keywords as line labels, and it'll generate all kinds of errors in your code. So just make sure that after you type then, you press enter to put the line on a different code, and then when you have else, make sure that's on its own line as well. If you want to make even more complex if-then statements, you can use the else if command. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to have 3 tiers of commissions, 8%, 6%, and 5%. For the first level, let's say that the sales total is greater than 10,000, and if that's the case, you want to give an 8% commission. So we'll edit those values so that now if the total sale is greater than or equal to 10,000, you get an 8% commission. Now we'll edit the else. So it says else if, and that is one term, else if, then a space, and now we can define the condition, and that is if the total is greater than or equal to 1,000, then the commission equals the total, CURTOTAL times 0.06. So in other words, if the total sale is greater than 10,000, 8% commission. If it's greater than or equal to 1,000, then a 6% commission. Now press enter twice. Now you can type the final else statement, so that's else. And again, that needs to be on its own line, or Access treats it as a keyword. And then we can leave the commission equals total times 0.05. So greater than 10,000, 8% commission. Greater than or equal to 1,000, 6%. Anything else, 5%. So let's check all three of those conditions. So press F5 to run it. Now let's enter the amount of the sale, and I'll make it 20,000. So when I click OK, I should see a commission of 1,600, and I do. Now press F5 again, and let's make it 1,000, which meets the criteria for the next level just barely. So I have a $1,000 sale. That should be a 6% commission, so click OK, and I get 60. And then the final condition has a commission of 5%. So if I press F5 and enter 100, I should see $5. And I do. If-then statements let you execute code conditionally based on the result of the expression you set in the opening if statement. I found that a three-part test, such as the if-then, else-if, else, is about all I can handle before I start to get confused. If I want to execute code based on more than 3 possible conditions, then I usually create a case statement, which I cover in the next movie.